MPL presents Cricbuzz Live. There are a couple of very strong storms that we are talking about right here. One in Jaipur as the match is about to begin in half an hour's time between the Rajasthan Royals and the Kolkata Knight Riders. The other happened in Bengaluru because as the Delhi Capitals were about to see the finish line, something seemed to happen that we couldn't make out here, and they started losing wickets as they neared the finish line. But somehow they huffed and they puffed and they got there in the end. And just to remind you what's happened there, 149 for 8. The Royal Challengers playing in green. Delhi needed just 150. They were in that 143 range where they panicked the other night, needing 167. They lost wickets in a small heap, but finally Akshar Patel hit the winning runs, and Shreyas Iyer 67 should have ideally, as we mentioned on Cricbuzz Combox, should have ideally had a nice 70 not out. It was a perfect score for him. Instead it was 67. Come to Joy and Michael. That 70 not out we talked about should have been. I mean, he still did the job for them, but there's a difference between getting over the line. No need to panic there.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think the Delhi Capitals are very similar to England. They're the entertainers. Just when you think the game's won, they just lose a few wickets to keep us all on the edge of our seat because they know it's the entertainment trade that we're in. And you look at all their games this year, pretty much they've had some kind of drama. We've had the super over, we've had the collapse, we've now had a stroll in the park in Bengaluru. Well, should have been a stroll in the park, become a little bit dramatic at the end. It's just youth, it's just that element of how do you coach that flamboyancy that Rishabh Pant's got, that Prithvi Shaw's got, and then suddenly sit them down in the corner and say, look, guys, you're going to have to be a little bit smarter at times. It's a real fine balance for coaches at this stage of their careers. Do you just let them free up and continue to play the way that they do and they're going to make mistakes? Or do you eventually sit them down and say, you know, you're going to have to be a bit smarter, but will that take some of their flamboyancy away? So it's a real fine balance. At the minute, I'd let them just be, but there will come that stage where they're going to have to be a little bit smarter, particularly in the pressure zone moments.
But as far as the opposition is concerned, yes, it is game, set and match for the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Not mathematically, but the first set is definitely over and they've lost it love 6. That's what the count is right now. It's love 6 for Bangalore and they're facing the wrong end of it. Never mind net run rates or anything like that. Bottom of the table firmly, and now we talked about 7 out of 9. Now it needs to be 7 out of 8 if they are to even think of anything important. Importantly for Delhi, 6 points, and they're now in that huge cluster of teams, all of them on 6.
Yeah, interestingly, the last team, the only team so far who started 0-6 before this is Delhi in 2013. So they know exactly how it feels, and they'll be really relieved because exactly they managed to make such heavy weather out of what seemed to be a simple enough chase. Once Prithvi and this Shreyas got going, it looked simple enough. They just made it difficult for themselves. And I'm amazed at some of the stuff that happened out there today. I mean, just to see the way Chris Morris, I mean, you were talking about youth, I can understand, you know, Rishabh Pant is a young guy, he lost his head. You know, Shreyas was already batting on quite a lot, so he just made a bad stroke. Chris Morris hitting something like that, I mean, he's an experienced international campaigner, 30 plus, you know, one of those guys, the wise heads of the team, what were they doing? So this is going to be a very interesting dressing room where I think, you know, Ricky Ponting, exactly as he says, will walk them in and say, okay guys, sit down, I need to talk to you now.
Yeah, the other day there was a little video up on the internet that showed Ricky Ponting after one of their good games, you know, talking through the players and giving up his own man of the match. But I think there's going to be a very different video. I don't think it's going to be circulated.
No, I mean, he'll be honest with them. He'll be delighted that they've got the win. I think when you've lost a couple, you just want to win, and they've got that victory, so he'll be delighted with that. But he'll also be honest. He'll also be open to a few finger points, just say, what were you doing, what were you doing? But, you know, overall, I thought the Delhi Capitals in the field were fantastic. I thought they bowled nicely to restrict, you know, Virat Kohli to what they restricted to him today, which was pretty much a run of the ball 30 before he hit a couple of sixes, and then AB de Villiers just didn't look like any kind of rhythm at all. They can take a lot of heart from the way that they bowled and fielded, and they got the job done. They won the game, and that's what it's about. We said at the halfway, you just got to win. When you've lost a couple, whatever it takes, you've just got to get that W by your name.
Absolutely.
They've got exactly that. From the RCB perspective, you know, if they lose another couple, it's mathematically impossible for them to qualify. I know the IPL bosses won't like me for saying this, but I'd be resting Virat Kohli for the World Cup. He plays too much cricket. His mind, he's a human being, and with the amount of cricket that he plays and the amount of travel and the pressure that he's under, there comes times when you have to manage that individual person, and it may be that in 2 games' time they've won a couple. Well, you never know. miracles can happen. But if they lose a couple more games, I'd be knocking on his door and say, Virat, you're going to take a few weeks off, get yourself ready for that World Cup, because we're not going to waste your energy over the next few weeks where you can't qualify with your RCB team for the knockout stage of the IPL. We want all your energy and all your mind fresh as a daisy for when you arrive in England at the end of May to make sure that India have got a competitive chance of winning that World Cup.
Yeah, one man who's part of our Cricbuzz Live team, even before this loss, Ajay Jadeja, he's been saying, yeah, Virat Kohli, that's it, 5 or 6, that's it.
Yeah, you go take a rest. But look at the bright side of it. RCB now becomes every other team's favorite second team, because the only thing they can be is spoilers to other teams. So, when Delhi is not playing them, they'll be supporting RCB, take points off somebody else. Bombay will support them. Everybody will support them, because these guys are not going to qualify, but they can be spoilers. They can take good points off, so they'll say, please Virat, come on, you need to play this season out. It's funny, but that's how it works.
Yeah, lots of Indian players, of course, but we had 4 South Africans competing for the limelight in this game. 3 out of 4 really would be walking away not having, been successful or happy with their efforts. De Villiers, Chris Morris at the end, and Colin Ingram, who couldn't finish it. But one man was at the other end of the scale, and he is our NPL hero of the match, Kagiso Rabada. What an excellent spell from him, 4 for 21, and you could see that he was in command from the very start. There are sometimes that you do end up getting a few cheap wickets, and we did see that with Alzari Joseph, who bowled straight, he bowled well, but you'd have to say, if you compare the 2 spells, Rabada was that much more incisive. You could see it was a match-winning kind of spell.
Absolutely, and you can make out he's a much more experienced international bowler, was not phased. See, the other thing is that, especially in this format of the game, one of the things that very good bowlers have is you're going to get stupid things like a nick going for a 4 much more often than it happens in other formats. So have a good ball, go for a 4, batsman takes a swing, something lucky happens. You've got to be calm, and that's what I love about Rabada. Even when something like that happens, he doesn't lose it. A lot of other bowlers get frustrated, and I thought it was a top effort from him. The fact that he's right up there is in the wickets table is no coincidence. He deserved it.
Yep, MPL super team hero. I had Rabada in my team. I was 64 points
No
off.
sunglasses, no
And
prize.
how did he win? Mohammad Islam, how on earth did he win? I think, Joy, it was not, even though he didn't have the shades, he had that hairstyle. Look at that. Yeah. That is some serious hair. He spent a lot of time doing that. I think he must have spent 5 minutes making his super team and about 3 hours on that hair. Just getting it all
If he has to buy, does he win some money for that?
I reckon
you have to get some new hairspray.
Yeah.
Might need a new pot or 2.
I think he's got that absolutely spot on there. Remember, for every team, you can make your team, you can put your captain in, put your vice captain in. There's plenty of prizes to play for. The MPL Super Team Hero, and of course, a big mention right here on MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live. But it's a double header on Sunday. We did say it's top 4 versus bottom 4. That's the game we have coming up, pink against purple. The Rajasthan Royals at home in Jaipur in the middle of a bit of a dust storm, it seemed like. And it's Dinesh Karthik who did call right in the middle of that swirling coin and has decided to ask the Rajasthan Royals to bat first. We talk about the changes because there have been a couple of changes. The first one, I'm going to come straight to you, Michael. We were talking about Lockie Ferguson making way. Harry, he's in.
The barman. He owns a pub with Stuart Broad, 2 pubs actually. I think they've got a beer company as well.
Tip and Run.
Yeah, Tip and Run barman. Yeah, he's that's it. Tap and Run. That's the one. We're giving him a little bit of promo in India. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good bowler. Smart bowler. Left arm. He'll change his angles. He'll come over the wicket. He'll come round the wicket, particularly towards the back end. Bowling to right-handers, he likes to come round the wicket and angle the ball into the stumps. He's got a back of the hand slow ball. He bowls cutters as well. So no surprise with it. Rajasthan Royals having Josh Butler, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, which Harry Gurney will have played against so often. It doesn't surprise me that KKR. And also, you look at Lockie Ferguson. He had a bit of an off night the other night. His action just looked a little bit out of sync. He was leading over to that offside with his release point just a little bit too much for me. Even though he's bowling quite quickly, I just thought his action didn't look quite in sync. So no surprise that they've gone to Harry Gurney.
I think they would have had a chat about the moustache as well.
Do you reckon that's cost him?
Yeah, I reckon that's cost him as well.
I like that.
You can't live with that moustache. I mean, Crystal is just surviving because at this point in time they still think he'll get a few runs, but a couple more like that and either that goes or he goes.
But yeah, on the Caterpillar man for a moment, Chris Lynn, I mean, he must be feeling that if he doesn't deliver, there's somebody sitting out there, another Englishman, who's also pushing for a place, Joe Denley.
Yeah, Denley's had a good big bash. He's a decent, very, very decent player. See, Chris Lynn's has always, been there, but not had that 400, 500, 600 run season. And they've put him up there. They need him to do that because look, Sunil Narine is not going to do that for you. He's going to get you 280, 300 at 180, 190. But they want Chris Lynn to get about 500 at 150, 160. And he's not doing that for them. He needs to understand he's their main international batsman. If you look at their lineup, of course, let's leave Dr. Dre out of this. He is the ultimate player, but he is their top international pure batsman, and he needs to deliver for them.
Yeah, and when you're just a batsman, Chris Lynn can't throw because of his shoulder.
Yeah.
He's an okay fielder. He's got a safe pair of hands, but he's an okay fielder. You don't ever see him running out at an opposing player. When you're just a sole batsman, you've got to deliver. What Joe Denley brings, he also bowls leg spin. And he's also pretty good. He gets given the fresh new ball in T20 cricket, bowls the first over. Does it very well for Kent. He's done it a couple of times for England as well. So there's something up the KKR sleeve if Chris Lynn doesn't come out of the traps and get the runs that everyone expects him to do so.
One thing, Joy, I can tell you, Mr. Quiz Master himself, he's not a very good quizzer, because the other day I had a quiz with the Kolkata Knight Riders team, and I was trying to get questions that referred to people who were in the room, and I asked someone, I said, someone in the Kolkata Knight Riders squad made his ODI and T20 debut 10 years before he made his Test debut, and I'm actually looking at his direction, and he didn't even respond. He was sitting there with a few other mates, and he had no idea. I said, Joe, does that ring a bell? He said, oh, was it 10 years? Was it really 10 years since I made my debut? 10 years, that's pretty big gap between them.
Yeah, he's a good cricketer though. He's one of those players that's always kind of got consistent runs. He's always looked nice on the eye. He's probably not been helped, not being disrespectful for Kent, but they've been in the second division for a long time and kind of get lost. You get lost in the second division and you're not at one of the, again, I'm not being disrespectful, Kent, they're not at one of the popular counties. Or one of the big cheese counties, so he got lost, but he can play. And he's done okay. Played in the Test matches, a couple of them in the West Indies. He got a nice 50 in the last game in St. Lucia. So you would expect that he's got a great chance of starting in the Ashes series.
So other than Yorkshire and Lancashire, which ones are considered top?
No, just Yorkshire.
Middlesex, sorry?
No, just Yorkshire.
Just Yorkshire.
Not even Lancashire. Come on.
Not even Lancashire.
The Red Roses.
You play for Yorkshire, you've got a sniff.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
You get the Yorkshire Mafia behind you.
But you're talking about quizzes. Asif Iqbal, I had him in a quiz, an India-Pakistan quiz, and I said, there were questions on county cricket. I showed him the logo of Kent, where he spent about 16 years or 20 odd years playing, with the horse and everything. I say, which county cricket team? Not which team, which county team is this? He says, I haven't a clue. And I couldn't believe it.
There you go. Yeah. That is just a reminder. Neither of these two questions we asked is today's Joy Factor question. Maybe at the end of the show we'll give you a quick reminder of that. But for now, let's look at the other team, the men in pink, because not a very familiar figure coming in there. Sudarshan Midun, he's a leg spinner from Kerala making his way into the team in place of Varun Aaron. So they're looking to take pace off the ball. They're looking for a bit of wrist spin to add to that already varied bowling attack. You've got Gautam, you've got Shreyas Gopal, and of course the quick pace of Jofra Archer and Dhawal Kulkarni. So that's a fair bit of spin in that team, and Prashant Chopra makes his way into the team. So two newcomers in a sense coming in, and that really means that Sanju Samson is not fit. That'll be a bit of a blow for them.
Oh, big blow. He's a tremendous talent, got a really nice 100 early on in the tournament, but I like the fact they've gone spin. I like the fact they've gone with leg spin as well, because we've seen it's such a trend that leg spin is becoming, and has become over the last 3 or 4 years, the bowler that you'd look to in T20 cricket. If you're moulding a team, you want a leg spinner. I've always argued and I've always said to coaches, why don't you go with more of them? We're all saying that the leg spinner, the bowler that can go either way, or the mystery off spinner that can bowl the doosra, why not go with more leg spinners? There's plenty out there. Shane Warne will take all the credit, and rightfully so, is the reason why everyone in the world now wants to be a leg spinner. And now everyone's seen in T20 cricket that leg spinner is the one that everyone needs. All little kids are rolling the wrists and trying to get the ball flicking out the hands, and I really do think there should be more leg spinners. I'd go for 3 or 4 if I could get them into the T20 team.
Yeah, the other person, of course, who misses out, and this is important information for all of you who are making last-minute changes to your MPL super team. Varun Aaron misses out. Stuart Binney misses out also, and that's why Prashant Chopra has come in along with Midun into that Rajasthan Royal team. But this is how, just a reminder, you simply download the MPL app, get to mpl.live/superteam and make your teams out there. It's very simple, just have to select 11 members of the team, and you've got a maximum of 1,000 to choose from, and then you've got to have 1 captain and 1 vice captain. Pretty simple. And it's not as simple when you're out there playing the game. And I think one of the people, since Michael Vaughan did mention about wrist spin, Shreyas Gopal has been in really, really good form for the Rajasthan Royals, and I think he'll play a key role. In general, T20 cricket, he's sort of made this his own. He's been one of those rising stars of Indian cricket.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant for them. I felt he's not played enough for them. They haven't always picked him. This year, they have been picking him consistency. Leggies also need captains who have confidence in them, coaches who have confidence in them that, okay, you're going to play. And the important thing is that, look, this is a team that, Paddy Upton, Zubin, all the guys in the, the dugout, the Rajasthan Royals dugout, they will always come from left field. They are the original Moneyball team, so they'll say, look, we are not going to give any pace to Russell. We're going to bowl wide outside the off. We're going to turn it away from him. Let him hit. Let him hit all the balls over cover, third man. Let him hit here. He might still hit it, but at least it's a shot he doesn't like hitting. They're not going to give him anything. They're going to tell their bowlers, of course, how much the bowlers can execute is a different matter altogether. But this is a team who does this professionally. And whether they get it right or wrong, at least I like the fact that they've got 12 overs of spin to go against them.
Yeah, well, two indications is obviously they want to target Trey Russ probably with the leg spinners, but also maybe an indication that they've probably dried out the wicket.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've probably just thought, you know what, the way that we're going to go a long way in this tournament is really knowing our pitch, knowing our 22 yards. We saw in the last game that spin worked. I just wonder if they've dried it out even more, and batting first might favour them as well. All right, the dew might come in, it might skid on later, but batting first, getting a score on the board, and then throwing the ball to the leg spinners and the off spinner, it might be the way to go.
I think reason one could be a pretty strong reason. It's not just all of us talking about Dr. Dre, as Joy now calls him, because he got dismissed by Rashid Khan last year. Shreyas Gopal knows what it is to get the big boys out. He's got Kohli and De Villiers out in the same game. Of course, you might say that that's not big wickets in the context of the season so far. The last person we remember who did that was Nitish Rana, the part-timer from KKR. But I think it'll be a key role now. They've got a newcomer they've thrown in, and it's the fact that nobody's seen him bowl.
No, A, that, B is that, look, if every other bowler is anyway going for 30, 40 in 2, so what's the point of having, if he goes, he goes. That everyone has gone. So they'll try and hold Shreyas Gopal back and try and throw him it. And that's what the best part of it is, that they're putting themselves into a situation where they're trying something different. And I think that's what teams have to do. They have to upset that balance of, what Russell can do and not do. The other interesting guy is that Prashant Chopra is a pretty good batsman. He's not got opportunities simply because the kind of team they play, they really need Sanju Samson. In fact, they should have had a real chance of looking, if Rahane was not getting runs, they would have looked at Prashant Chopra and said, maybe, you can tool the team around. The big problem they have is that at some point in time, the English cricketers will go. So they have to have Rahane hot and ready and, willing to play.
The good thing about leg spinners is that they don't have to bowl that well. If they bowl great, brilliant. But if they don't bowl that well, it's still a hard ball to hit, because as a batsman, you're still in the back of your mind looking at the ball going, is it going to be the leg spinner, is it going to be the googler, is it going to be the flipper or the straighter on? So there's a little bit of doubt in the batsman's mind to just be able to, if an off spinner's bowling, you know it's going to be spinning into his right, and you just hit with the spin. You know it's going one way. If it's got the dooter, there's a doubt in your mind. If there's just someone bowling orthodox off spin, it's so much easier. And the leg spinners, that's why they're so difficult to hit. That's why someone like Adil Rashid bowls in the last 10 overs in 50 over cricket for England, because he just lobs them up and the batsman's going, well, is it going to be the googly, is it the leg spinner? And they hit through the line of what they expect, and if it's just the other one, that's when you get so many catches on the boundary. So I like leg spinners. You probably have gathered that by now.
Yeah, interesting to see actually how it's used, because let's remind you once again of the figures for the Kolkata Knight Riders and what they've done throughout the season. And the one thing you won't see on this particular set, apart from the big numbers, is who actually bowled at the end. And it was pretty much pace all the way, except for a couple of deliveries bowled by Shakib Al Hasan in that first game, when Bhuvi had to take the 19th over and left that. Amit Mishra bowled 1 over in the game on the 30th of March, and there was 1 delivery bowled by Pawan Negi right at the end there on 5th of April. Otherwise, it was mostly pace. It was Dre Russ going absolutely berserk. So maybe they'll look at that option coming towards the end.
The other thing is that this is not, if I seemed to me that it wasn't one of the central wickets that they're playing on. Rajasthan is a long ground. It's a really big ground. The sides especially are much longer than most other grounds. I think it's the longest, in fact. The sides are the longest. So expect, even if he's a leggy coming from the end where he has a big boundary on the off, really boundary back, so then he can really bowl it down there on the off and then expect him to try and hit against it.
Also, one two factors I want to talk about. One of them being the wind factor, because it seemed very unusual. Just having a look at the toss, they were having to hold on to their hats. Now, from a bowling perspective, particularly when you're looking at spinners, someone who maybe even gives the ball a bit of air, how does that change your plans?
Well, two things. I mean, as a captain, you'll have to defend the side that's the longest, the shortest. But if the wind's blowing to the longest part of the ground, it could be the opposite. Yeah, it could be harder hitting to the shortest if you're hitting into the wind. And also, as a spinner or as any kind of bowler, you'll be bowling trying to make sure you're making the batsman hit into the wind. And then it becomes clever for the captains to try and set certain fields, and you have to protect certain areas of the ground. And as a batsman, you just kind of work. If the wind's going one way, you're just trying to get the ball up into the wind, and you know that it's going to travel. So it becomes a strategic game for the batting team, hitting with the wind and trying to make sure they use that, and also as a fielding team, bowling unit, to try and make sure that the defender and stop the batsman hitting with the wind. So fascinating to see how it goes. It's not just the 22 yards that you have to deal with as a captain out in the middle. When the wind comes into play, it makes it that little bit more difficult.
The other fact I want to talk about, Joy, is the third leg spinner in the Rajasthan Royals team, Steve Smith, but we won't talk about his leg spin for the moment. First match, we seemed to think that the elbow was getting in his way of hitting the big shots, particularly straight. Second time around, he seemed to be getting a little bit better. He'll be a key member of that batting unit.
He's a key member of the batting unit because they have everything. It's a really good team here, but they lack experience. The experience is with Stokes. See, after Smith and Stokes go, it's a relatively inexperienced 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's something. They might have got runs, but they're not the guys who'll shepherd a chase. Okay, so it's probably better that they're batting first.
In this case,
it's probably better that they're batting first, but they'll really depend on that top four and say that you are our guys, you have to set us this total. And that's what's the rest of them, if they come, they get a few runs, damn good, but 1, 2, 3 and 4 have to deliver for them. It's not the strongest middle to lower batting order out there. And that will be interesting because I think they're better off. They might have said that they wanted to bowl as well, but I think they're better off batting first. With this lineup, they're better off batting first.
Again, somebody at the top, Jos Buttler, we know how destructive he is. There's one way he likes to play. So he'll really want to get them off to that kind of start, with Rahane not having been as destructive as he has been in previous seasons.
Yeah, I think Butler's the key. At the top of the order in those first 6, you just know that if he goes, it's almost impossible to set field to, because he is the ultimate modern 360-degree player, because he's got the ramps, he's got the flicks, he's also got the power. He struggled a little bit against spin the last few games. He's not quite found his sync and his rhythm. So I'll be interested to go if KKR suddenly put the spinner on straight away to him. Rashid Khan did for him early, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they open with spin against Jos Buttler. But wonderful talent, great for the game, smacks it hard, runs between the wickets hard. He's just a modern cricketer and a real good thinker of the game. He's smart. He's one of those cricketers that you could have a conversation with and talk the game. And he's just got that ability to really see the game of where it's going now to where it's going to go in a couple of years. He's a real smart cricketer.
We know he runs between the wickets hard. He only needs to run 18 yards.
That's right, yeah. Just let's see if he's learned from that. Just keep your batting, Jos.
Right.
Can't trust these Indians, can you, with the ball? You know what they'll do, they'll put your bail off.
No, it's KKR. They're are they on top of the fair play charts at the moment?
They're top of the fair play charts.
So they won't be running him out. So he can start from wherever he feels like. It's fine. It's fine. Jos, don't worry. You're fine for this game. But we've got the MPL Super Team out of the way. Now it's the MPL Super Couch prediction, because it's going to be important here. Kind of shooting in the dark, not quite sure what the surface will play like. Will the wind play a role? Will it help the batters? Will it help the bowlers? A lot of interesting things to ponder about. So which direction are we going? We got it horribly wrong the last time around.
Yeah, we over this thing. I don't know why. I'm going 155.
So I'm going I was going to go 160.
Okay.
So I'm going to go 165. Just so there's a 10. Yeah. There's a breather.
165, KKR bowling. Are they going to keep them down? Should I go higher? Should I go lower? Oh dear. I'll go up. I'll go to 174. I'll go to 174. Give Dre Russ something to bat for God's sake. There you go. 174 is what I'm going. So we've got a decent enough range, but the rest is all up to the players. This is MPL Presents Cricbuzz Live. I've got just about time to try and get Sanju Samson out of my team. So we're going to quickly say that we'll see you for Cricbuzz Combox. Thank you, gentlemen. Do I have time? I just about have enough time. So that's it for now. That's it.